Hi, I'm Ariege Misherghi, SVP and GM of AP, AR, and the Accountant Channel at Bill. Welcome to Coffee with Bill. This series is all about showcasing and celebrating the resilience, innovation, and contributions of our customers. And I am really excited to be joined today for our sixth episode by Josh Hull, Director of Finance at Mark Cuban Companies. Josh, welcome. Tell us about Mark Cuban Companies. I understand that it's that you have a really interesting mission, and I'd love to hear a little bit about your role there.
Mark Cuban Companies is an umbrella of companies, and one of our main missions is to support growth in small and medium-sized businesses within the U.S. The companies Mark supports quite often are small businesses, really like the definition, perhaps mom and pop shops. We support bicycle companies, cookies, workout equipment, health items, SAT prep, just about anything you can think of, we probably are touching.
How does Mark Cuban Companies help its businesses grow?
So, in a lot of aspects, I think about Shark Tank. I think most people associate Mark with Shark Tank. And a lot of times, they're entrepreneurs. This may be their very first, business. And a lot of times they have an amazing idea, but they may not know business, right? Or they may not know finance. They may not know accounting. And that's really where we can come alongside, with Mark's experience and with ours and just help guide them, to better the business.
Can you give us some examples of the ways that you're building that business skill set in the community?
Me personally, I'm an accountant. I like numbers. So showing, even in my staff, why are we doing it this way? And really what I've been focused on here at MCC is automation and streamlining our processes.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, AI is a critical tool for that, right? I completely hear you. And speaking of AI, I read recently about the AI boot camp that you've set up. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, it's a really exciting program out of our foundation. Right now we have, let's see, it was 30 locations across 21 states. Right now we have over 700 students that are enrolled, and they get over 20 hours of instruction on how to code AI and how to use AI to help in, say, apps for the iPhone or the Android, and just give those teens, a starting look if they're into some kind of, tech as far as their future.
It sounds like the objective is to grow their skill set with AI as a tool. Is that right?
Yes, and Mark really sees AI as the future. I think we can all speak to that too. It really is the future. You're starting to see it almost in everything.
How complicated was it when you began to manage 100 entities with, manual financial processes?
Part of my onboarding here, they walked me through the 100 entities and how they, one may own another, or one may own five, one may be by itself. It's a very, complicated and layered situation in and of itself. But then compounded was the manual process that they were implementing here. All approvals, went through one email for across 100 companies. We had our clerks literally hand typing emails, chasing managers, maybe on the phone. And then for those approvals, we're just saving down a PDF of that email, right? Well, what if we move an email out of the inbox and it wasn't approved yet? Well, it's not on our radar anymore.
That
And
sounds like a
then
nightmare.
yes, it's literally was just a tracking nightmare. We tried an Excel, but really, again, it's all manual. Um, and ultimately, Mark ended up hiring a CFO who is over me, and she tasked me specifically with how do we get this streamlined and out of a manual process. And that's where Bill came in. It truly was mind boggling how much paper we had just so we could print a check.
And scary. Like, what about the security
Right.
risk?
Right, exactly. It's a huge risk, you know. Um, one check missing, and who knows what can happen, right? And we destroyed all of that check stock. So thousands and thousands of pages. We actually took out and onto a farm and
Oh
lit it
my,
on fire.
that's the
I'm like,
best. That
yes.
is amazing. How did you feel in that moment where you lit
Oh,
your
it was very cathartic. I don't know. It was just like almost sickening in a way though, because
Yeah.
think how much money we spent just to print that paper,
Oh God, I can
right?
see the
So we had
waste.
thousands of,
Yeah.
it's just it's just mind-boggling, the manual process.
You know what I love about that story is it also demonstrates your commitment to the automation. Like you were so committed to automation, you burned the manual way with no option to go back.
Yes.
Was there
Yeah,
a
totally.
moment was there a moment in your experience where you kind of threw up your hands and said, "Nope, like we're not going to do this anymore. You know, our financial operations have to change. We've got to figure out a way to automate." Like what triggered the change for you?
Really, it was after a year of working 50s or more. Um, our AP process involved four people, 4 days a week, literally. Uh,
Mm,
and we could not get them out of that process.
mhm.
Um, we were stretched so thin, after working 50s for a year. I was like, no, this is not sustainable. I am a family man. And I'm like, I want to see my kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I can completely understand. And how did the process of automation change your business? You mentioned 4 people, 4 days a week. Like what changed?
The whole, even atmosphere here has changed. I can tell you, I have not worked a single 41-hour week. After we implemented Bill, uh, we went from being over a year behind on bank reconciliations to daily reconciliation now. We are completely caught up on all 100 accounts.
So Bill
Um,
enabled daily reconciliation.
yes,
Wow.
yes, across uh, the entire umbrella of companies.
Wow.
And again, nobody's working over 40.
And is the work
Nobody is
they're doing
stressed.
more strategic? Does it change the kind of
Yes,
work they do?
yes. Even my clerk, she's now no longer stuck in approval mode, email all day.
Yeah, I've always known that like automation drives efficiency, but the way that you're talking about it, it sounds like it was a real cultural revolution for the team.
Oh, yes. Like within a month, um, it was literally just a culture shift, right? I
Wow.
feel like it almost brought us together better. Right? Nobody's worried about that extra 10 hours and we're not as tired. And we can see the end goal. Accounting does have an end.
Yeah.
There is a bottom line, and now we can actually see what that is and work towards it.
Do you find that, it's amazing to hear how everybody's embraced it and how positively it's impacted the culture. Was there any resistance going in?
Change is hard.
Yeah.
It is. There's not really a way around it. We all get stuck in our routine. But I feel like my team really leaned into this change. I feel like everybody knew we needed it. And even our end users, like our managers who are approving in bill or even on spend and expense side,
Yeah.
every end user has reported time saving, ease of use, just less headache across the board.
What advice do you have for other organizations that want to go through a similar digital transformation or are considering financial automation?
Really, my advice boils down to try it. Um, you know, it we can read articles, we can read books, we can look at magazines, newspapers, but until you actually boil down and just try it, ultimately, we saw dividends on our side, time saving, not only for my accounting team, but also for my end users. Our vendors are more happy that they get paid timely. It's really just try it. It's going to pay for any time that you've been spending on implementation. Look at Bill. Y'all y'all walked us through the process because we went from zero automation to full automation almost. You stood by us the entire time. I did the implementation here. Um, I would do it again, like in a heartbeat. And it's important to trust who you're using, right? Uh, they have access to your data at some point, right? I am just old enough to remember the green sheets. My mom was a CPA, and I remember going to her office and seeing the giant tabular green sheet pieces of paper, and I'm like, I don't know how you did it, mom. But really, in a digital age, it's time to step up.
And how has your approach evolved when it comes to these app partnerships?
Really, it's about relationship, I think. At first, when we were looking, it was the need to get something, and then once we have it, now it's a relationship. Who can I call when I have an issue? And I had an example this last week for AI boot camps that were ongoing. The manager had spent extra this month. Well, of course she has. They're live in their project, and she reached out and said, "Josh, I have to buy X, Y, and Z. I don't have enough in my budget. Can we please increase it?" And she's literally at the store waiting, and I think it was 45 seconds. We had the funds, in her budget at that point, and she could swipe and they could go.
I love that feature of spend and expense. I use it all the time.
Yes.
What's next year look like for you?
Um, so right now we are in a huge just cleanup movement. As I mentioned, we were behind on recs, the bank rec and other recs. So really we're looking at all of our processes now as well. Just because we've done it this way for 10 years, is that really the way it needs to happen? So really we're looking at expanding. Are there other ways that we can use uh, Bill or other technology partners? We have not automated AR at this point, so we are looking into that, and just really shoring up our processes. And we never know what Mark's going to do next.
Well, Josh, it was a sincere pleasure to get to meet you and hear about the amazing things happening at Mark Cuban Company. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.